Units conversion. Convert a speed of 54 km per hour to meter per second. Step 1 is identify the number of units that needs conversions and add equal fractional separating bars. What do I mean by this? When we have to convert from kilometer per hour to meter per second, we have two conversions. We have to convert the unit of distance from kilometer to meter and the unit of time from hours to seconds. This means that there are two conversions, one for the distance and one for the time. That's why we take the original value with its original unit, 54 kilometers per hour, times, and we draw two fractional bars here. Then we switch the places of units between the numerators and denominators in the new fractions. We consider the first one here for the time units. So in the original one, we had the hour in the denominator. Now we write it in the numerator. And the other one for the distance, we had kilometers in the numerator in the original one. Now we put it in the denominator. Then we fill in the units to which we are converting. So hours is going to be converted to seconds and kilometers to meters. Then we put one near the greatest unit for each fraction. Like between hours and seconds, which one is greater? It's the hour. So we write 1 beside hours, and for the kilometer and meter we have 1 beside the kilometer because kilometer is greater than meter. Then we write the equivalent value of the lowest value and finish the calculation. So 1 hour is equivalent to 3,600 seconds and 1 kilometer is equivalent to 1,000 meters. We do the simplifications of the units, so hours cancels with hours and kilometers with kilometers. We are left with meter per second, and for the value it's 15 meters per second. Now the homework was to define speed and velocity expressed in meter per second, a speed of 72 km per hour expressed in kilometer per hour, a speed of 30 meter per second, and here we are converting from kilometer per hour to meter per second and from meter per second to kilometer per hour. And finally expressed in meters per second, the speed of a jet airplane of 900 km per hour, same thing. So the speed as a definition is the rate at which an object covers distance. Speed represents how fast an object moves or simply how fast an object covers the ground with respect to time. It is a scalar quantity that is measured in meters per second in the SI. However, velocity is the change of position vector with respect to time. It is the rate at which an object changes its position, and velocity here represents how fast an object moves in a given direction. So the difference is that for the velocity we have to define the direction of motion. It is a vector quantity, not a scalar quantity, and have a symbol of v vector. So now converting from 72 km per hour to meter per second, same procedure. We have to count how many conversions. We have two conversions, kilometer to meter and hours to seconds. That's why we draw two fractional bars. And then we switch the places of the original units. We have now hours in the numerator and kilometer in the denominator, and fill in the other new units. Then write 1 beside the higher or the greater unit for each parameter, and write the equivalence. Then simplify the units. Hours goes with hours, simplifies with hours, and kilometer with kilometer. We're left with meter per second, and now it is 20 meter per second. Now from meter per second to kilometers per hour. Also we're going to convert from meter to kilometer. This is one conversion, and from seconds to hour, this is a second conversion. That's why we drew two fractional bars. We multiplied by two fractional bars, one for time and one for distance. Now as in the original one, the original one was in the denominator, now it's in the numerator, and meter was in the numerator, now it's in the denominator. And we fill in the other new units, writing 1 beside the greater one for each bar, and filling in the equivalent value. Then simplify the units. We are left with kilometer per hour. 108 km per hour. Using your calculator, you can find the answer. You multiply numerators by each other and denominators by each other, then divide them to get the final answer. 900 km per hour Similarly to conversions, switch the places, one beside the greater one, equivalent values, and finally simplify, being left now with meters per second, and the value is 250 meters per second.